What is up, goalies? Welcome back to the DIY Goalie Podcast. And today it is just me in the host chair. We don't have Connor with us today because we've got Riley Richardson with us, and we did do a interview. Probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago now, and we had issues with the recording. So now we're redoing it. So it's just me and Riley today, but Connor will be back. How are we doing today, Riley?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's a little late, but you know what? We rally. How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. So, why don't we kind of start with a little bit of an intro to yourself, a little bit of a background, kind of, who you are and what you've been up to.
Sure. Yeah. So, my name is Riley Richardson. Last season I played for the Sioux College Cougars, which is ACHAD2, and I have kind of a weird hockey story because I kind of started. I only learned how to skate a little over 6 years ago. Then I made a YouTube channel, got passed around. Here we are. So, kind of a crazy story, but I'm 20 years old and hoping to play for Dakota College, not this season coming, but the season after. This season we're sort of taking as like a developmental year, we'll say. I'm staying here in the Sioux and just playing a lot of good hockey. I'm working a lot, so I'm not going to be like poor anymore, which is great. I actually just ordered my first custom set, Bauer
Ooh.
Hyperlite 2, and that should be in September. And anyway, so yeah, just working with a lot of good goalie coaches up here. There's lots of good hockey here in the Sioux. So that's kind of the plan for the year, and then shipping off to North Dakota.
Nice. Did you go with mostly white, or did you give a nice splash of color for your new set?
So this is the pickle that I have with myself. I wanted something that wouldn't take a lot of puck marks, and if for whatever reason I didn't end up going to Dakota College, I didn't want like the green and the brown and the white and whatever. Like I didn't want their logos strapped all over it or anything, just in case for some reason I didn't end up going there, whether I stopped playing hockey or whatever. So I went with a mostly all black set. It looks almost like the black stock set, but it's got like the spears are white instead of silver, and then like that middle part between the what do they call them? I just said it. The spears is like that dark gray. I think it's like the Vegas gray or something like that.
Yeah.
So mostly black, but with a little bit of like spice, just so you can tell that they're not stock.
Nice. Yeah, I was a big fan. My last set was all navy with white and gold trim, so I like the full color as opposed to the full white. Um, yeah, so we might as well get into the nitty gritty as much as we could sit here and talk about custom sets for the next hour. Um, that was kind of why we had brought Riley on, just to kind of get her story. Just having been basically somebody who couldn't skate 6 years ago to now playing college as a goalie. So I thought it was an interesting story and interesting personality too. If you get a chance, follow Riley at Scotch Hockey on YouTube, and and for those on YouTube, there's the shirt. Um, so she puts a lot of personality into her stuff, and it's good to get some of that flavor as opposed to what we put out, which is a little bit more dry, I guess. But
Hey, it needs to be done. The dry stuff is what got me to play college hockey, so I'm
yeah,
here for the nitty gritty.
yeah, there you go. So, why don't you give us kind of the general overview of your journey that you've taken from the start, where you weren't able to skate to kind of where you are now?
Sure. So basically, it started in, I think it was sixth grade. We started playing ball hockey at school, and no one wanted to be goalie. So I thought, like, oh, maybe if I take one for the team, that my classmates would like me or whatever. So I became the goalie for ball hockey. That did the whole friend thing didn't really work out, but you know what? I ended up loving it. So I did that a lot, and then I picked up playing NHL 15 on the Xbox, which really solidified that like I want to play ice hockey kind of thing. But like money wasn't great, and I grew up on an island with 700 people, so like we didn't exactly have a hockey rink, so we had to go to the mainland to play and whatever. But in grade 9, I was actually able to buy my own set. I think we bought the entire thing from a guy who stopped playing for $400 because it was like basically ball hockey gear. It definitely didn't fit, but whatever. So then I learned to skate in tryouts. It was a Bantam AAA tryout with the boys. So that was kind of crazy. That's where I got the nickname Tank for that year because I couldn't stop or start or turn or stand. But you know what? I called myself the Dominic Hasek goalie because I couldn't do any of the positional stuff. So I would just like stand there and then fall in the right direction. You know, it worked. So anyways, from there I played. It's like 4 years of high school. My 4 years in high school, but it was during COVID, so it's more like 2.5 seasons, kind of. And then I went to school in Fredericton, New Brunswick for massage therapy. Now I'm a registered massage therapist. If you're in the Sioux, I need clients. I'm new, so get in there. But anyways, so I played there. I played women's league and I played pickup hockey there, which like sounds like kind of lame, but this is in Fredericton, so there was St. Thomas University and what's it called, University of New Brunswick, and like these, I've been playing with a lot of guys who would have just come off the team or had come off the team. You know, even if it's 15 years ago, they're still very high level hockey players. Had a lot of OHL guys out there too. Of course, there were OHL guys who were like 30, but you know, it's still hard shots. They don't lose their ability to shoot hard. I'll tell you that much. But anyways, so I played there, and I was just like really, really, really obsessed with hockey. I would dream about hockey. I watch Jamie Phillips. Shout out to him. I would watch videos of his NCAA goalies training videos, and those were so helpful. And I would like watch them right before I went to sleep so I could like remember it when I woke up and played the next day and things like that. And then I made a YouTube channel back in high school so I could kind of get like advice on how I can get better because I didn't really play hockey before or know anything about hockey. Wasn't even really a fan of hockey before that, so I had to learn everything right from scratch. So Jamie Phillips, Steve McKeegan, what's his name? What's his YouTube? Oh, Future Pro Goaltending. That's his YouTube name. Just different stuff on YouTube. I basically just taught myself how to play, and I played like 3 times a day. I skipped class to go play hockey. I don't recommend doing that, but I did that way too often. Um, and then I got in contact with Steve McKeegan, actually. He was a former NHL goalie. He coached the Maple Leafs goalies for a few years. Now he does his own goalie coaching thing or whatever. But someone sent him my video, one of my YouTube videos, and then he said he wanted to call me. And I'm like, he wants to call me? Like, okay, whatever. Anyway, so I put him as a reference. I started sending out emails to a bunch of hockey teams around. So that was U Sport, what was it? ACHA was a big one, obviously. Maybe that's about it. But anyways, just sent out a bunch of emails with his name as like a reference on it for someone to call. And then I ended up settling on the Sault College Cougars in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And then I came here and I played 4 games, but I had a 940 save percentage, so I'll take it. And then we went down to St. Louis and won nationals, and well, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. That's that's awesome though that you're able to kind of, I don't know, self teach yourself, I guess, and it's a testament to um, the access to the resources that we have now and all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, and that's something that we kind of aim for too at the DIY goalie, and hopefully down the road I have a little bit more time to make some content, but for sure that's awesome. So um at what point, because you mentioned you're working with a few goalie coaches now, at what point were you able to finally get kind of some structured coaching as opposed to just watching, YouTube videos?
That would be when I went to Sioux College. That was the first time that I actually like had my own goalie coach or whatever. I went to one camp before I went to that tryout where it was like they had some people who were like, it was in St. John, New Brunswick. There's a bunch of like, I don't know what it's called, like junior guys there and stuff. And then I was out here not knowing how to skate, so these poor goalie coaches were kind of left without a lot of help. But there was like, you know, like 30 goalies there. It wasn't really like one-on-one goalie coaching kind of thing. But then I actually, before I went to any other goalie camp or had any other goalie coaching, I actually hosted my own because I had signed with the Cougars, and I was like, hey, I'm signed with a college team. Do you want to do a camp with us? So I hosted my own camp. And then I was the demo goalie at a couple of camps last fall, right before I went to Sault College, I think. But other than that, like Sault College is really like my first time I had like an actual goalie coach and get to do one-on-one stuff and a lot of stuff like that.
So what was the biggest difference you found between, the self-taught portion of it and then the, somebody else being there teaching you?
A big thing was, how do I put this? Goaltending style slash era difference. Like, I had a very old fashioned goalie coach at Sioux College. I love him dearly. I would consider him like a third grandfather or something. Like, he's the sweetest guy I've ever met. He's just a little bit old fashioned, but like whatever. He was still like obviously very knowledgeable, and he knew what the panda was. So I'm like, he's not. You can't be that out of date if you know what the panda is. So
Yeah.
that was definitely the biggest thing. Or also like just because I didn't always agree with like what I did wrong, because I could feel I did something really wrong that I had had an issue with before or whatever, and he'd be like, "Oh, well, your glove is too low," and I'm like, "I've never had that problem before," so it's just different things like that. Like I'm used to correcting myself on the stuff that I usually mess up, then hearing it from someone else is something completely different. I'm kind of like, that's kind of weird, but you get through it. You get better. I definitely got better this year, so I won't
Yeah.
complain.
Well, and different perspectives too. You can always, there's not always going to be everything that you like from every coach, but just being able to take a little bit from everyone, I guess, that you work with, that's kind of the key
And
there.
I definitely probably was contrary, so that's probably on me a bit too. So I'll take the fault for that.
Yeah, fair enough. So how do you think kind of getting started a little bit later, um, kind of affected your route that you've taken so far in your career and has kind of made it, you know, harder, I guess, or has it made it harder as compared to like where you see what your peers and colleagues are at?
The later start, largely the biggest issue is that it affected your ability to get scouted. So I don't know how many people know much stuff about women's hockey, but if you have not gone on a rep team before you're 18, like before you go off to college, there is no minor league for you to play in. There is no junior, there's no like AHL equivalent for the women's game. There is only you're in college or you're playing beer league, and that is it. That's all you've got for lower leagues. So the way the leagues go, it's like beer league. And then there's like ACHA D2, ACHA D1, NCAA Div 3, NCAA Div 1, and U Sport is above ACHA D1, but probably in the same level as NCAA Div 3 from what I've experienced. But anyway, so like I didn't play for any good rep teams or anything like that. I didn't play travel hockey certainly in high school. I just played like midget C with the boys, like rec hockey, basically beer league for younger people. And so you just don't get scouted that way, and it's even hard to get scouted in the ACHA because everyone is sort of under the probably correct assumption that if you're not good enough before you're out of high school, then you're probably not good enough to play for a U Sport team or whatever it may be. So that's definitely been the biggest challenge, other than obviously like starting late. I sucked for a long time. Like, starting late, obviously, I was a little bit behind. Or it was harder to get to the same level of everyone else, guess I would say.
And have you faced any like setbacks or kind of, adversity, I guess, just based off of the late start? Like, I know obviously, the exposure is one that you just mentioned, but is there anything else that like you can kind of point to that was like, oh, well, that might not have happened had I been playing for, another 10 or so years?
Sort of. The gear, not so much. The skill, I don't like to think was super delayed. I think a big thing with this year was just that, like, I needed to prove that I could play at a high level of women's hockey because I'd just never done it before. So I had to wait in the season until we basically played like crappy teams to see if I could take the 6 shots on goal that we get with the Cougars. Just because I understand it from a coach's perspective. You've seen me in YouTube videos, you've seen me in practice, but to see me in a game is like a totally different thing because there's no chance for you to ever see it because I played midget C with boys, like, or
Yeah.
pickup hockey for the last 2 years. So that was definitely like, it's not anyone's fault. It just is what it was.
Yeah. So on the flip side, then, do you think there is any maybe benefit or anything like that to the later start?
I would say probably I don't think I've developed as many habits as people have. Like if you played hockey earlier, the style of goaltending and the techniques and everything have changed so much over the years that if you played way later, like if you see a goalie who used to play in the 90s or whatever, like there's just a totally different style. And I'd say you probably learn different habits and different instincts and probably were just taught differently. Like, depth used to be a really massive thing. You used to come up to the face of dust. I'm talking way back now, but I mean, just in general, like a lot of stuff has changed over even the last 10, 15 years. So starting late probably saved me from getting. How are the cats? Oh, the door pushes open. Never mind. Anyway, so yeah, I'd say that's probably um, one thing that could be considered a benefit. I think it is kind of cool from my perspective to kind of start so late and end up being as successful as I have been. Getting to see the things I've seen and whatever. I think that's probably an advantage. But as far as everything else, it hasn't been the best.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, it definitely helps you deal with adversity, I guess, once you face it, once you've kind of been able to, get up to it and kind of get through it each time. Um, as you continue to, you know, get better, understand the game a little bit more, understand your game personally as well, what techniques have you used to kind of, you know, get a better understanding of situational awareness, systems, like just kind of understanding the game in general, and being able to, as you had said, kind of criticize your own game as well and be able to, make the necessary tweaks.
I would say, like, I've learned so much about hockey from the players' perspective over this year because before, like, the boys, I'm on a boys' team in high school. They're not going to yap to me. We didn't do special plays. We didn't have a power play set up. We didn't
Right.
have, like, 1-4-1, like, neutral zone trap. We didn't have any of that stuff. And then, of course, in pickup hockey, that does not exist. And I wouldn't even be talking to, or women's league, it doesn't exist either, obviously. And then, like, you just don't really talk about it that much. So it's one of those things that I just never really considered as much. But now, having worked with so many players and people that I know, like talking about different situations and being in power play drills and things like that, or breakout drills, different things like that, I've just learned what the player is thinking a lot. But more so, something I've been focusing on a lot, especially where I haven't played a lot over this summer yet. Is focusing on something that I learned from Bill Vanderleest, our goalie coach at Sioux College, which is oh god, I forget what it was. Oh no, I remember what like I sort of picked up, but like oh yes, that's right. So like when the puck carrier's coming down the wing and there's a passing option. Now I normally would have just gone okay. There's a passing option. I know where he is vaguely in my head, so I know where to go when I push. But what I wasn't taking into consideration was the handedness of the shooter. Say hi. Was the handedness of the shooter because if the shooter's left or right-handed, that changes where you have to line up to the puck, like the stick. That changes where you have to line up by about 3 feet. So it's really quite a big deal and can set you off angle if you don't pay attention to what handedness the player is. So that's one thing I've been looking at a lot and just sort of paying attention to, especially not skating as much. Like when the puck carrier comes down, look at his blade. If it's facing you, he's not going to shoot, or he might deke or whatever. He might pass, he might deke. And if it's facing you, then he might shoot, so you should be ready to take a shot. Just little things like that. And just really watching the angle of the blade to see, okay, is he going to pass to this guy or this guy? Because you can tell when he passes, like, which person it's going to go to. So just things like that I find I'm really paying attention to a lot more. And especially paying attention to, like, if there's a guy coming in, my defender is keeping him to the outside, then I can kind of play that a little bit more conservatively, a little bit closer to the post or whatever. And focus more on the pass than the shooter because he's kind of getting pushed out, so he doesn't really have a good angle. Or overlap is a big thing I'm trying to do a lot more now instead of dropping into RVH or just like kind of hugging the post awkwardly and then having to do a weird RVH because I'm not quite lined up to the puck. Just little things like that, the details, and obviously the big things like is the person going to shoot or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't really realize how much information that we have to take in as goalies, and just how, like, whether you're aware of it or not as a goalie, like, just the cerebral kind of portion of the game that goes on, whether you're conscious of it or not. It is pretty crazy, and I think that's one thing that really sets the high level goalies apart is just their ability to process information, and that's why we've been a big proponent of the cognitive training side of things, and the brain training, the vision training, like all of that stuff. And it's interesting to hear that perspective from you as somebody who's kind of more of a self-taught, especially like up until recently. Just kind of the difference that has made in the last season, I guess.
And I've had a big focus, or I've had a big, yeah, I've had a big focus on focus. I guess is what I meant to say. Just trying to keep myself dialed in, especially in the zone, but not like saying like, because I used to say to myself, just watch the puck. Like if I was kind of like overthinking things, whatever, I'd say just watch the puck. But that's a lot easier said than done because I'm trying to think about when I'm trying to fix something, I'm thinking about, okay, I need to make sure that my glove is actually poked down and not like subconsciously pulling it in, or I'm not standing up too high instead of getting a bit lower, or like, butt down, chest up, that whole nonsense, that kind of thing. So what I've changed it to is like kind of out loud, but in my mind, like the words that I'm hearing in my head when someone's coming into the zone is, okay, here's a shooter, there's a pass option, they're a righty, you are not going to shoot right now. You look like you're going to pass. I say, like in my head, I say pass, 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 shoot, and then I kind of, come out and like play it like it's a shot because he looks like he's going to shoot. That kind of thing. Like I just say it in my mind instead of thinking about like, okay, I'm watching the puck and I'm thinking about where my glove is, right, and I'm thinking about what my stance is or whatever. And I find that that makes me fix those things that I'm trying to fix because like when you're kind of focused on a bunch of stuff, you subconsciously forget other things. So it's much better to just play instinctually, especially if you're not in a drill, you're in a game situation like pickup hockey is. Just really focusing on the puck, but not just saying focus on the puck. You're giving yourself something to fill your brain, but it's still like fully related to hockey.
Yeah, keeping it simple. Yeah, I know a lot of times I've told goalies that I've worked with, it's like, okay, we're in practice right now. This is the time to think so that when you get to a game, you don't have to think. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's where, that repetition comes into play and all of that good stuff. Um, so, what do you think has been one of the biggest reasons for, the success that you've had in such a short amount of time so far?
I would say it's a combination of a few things. The first one that comes to mind is like obsession. Like, I don't know, it's probably unhealthy. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But it's just I'd be sitting in class. Like I think particularly over the last couple of years in Fredericton, because up here, you don't really stop thinking about it because you're doing it every day. But like in Fredericton, I'd be going to class and I would be like, I don't know how to describe it other than like almost like meditating or something. I would not be paying attention to what the teacher was saying. I'd be kind of like staring off into the floor,
Zoned
and
out.
I could see, okay, there's a shooter coming in. Like I can imagine game situations in my head and say, okay, there's a shooter coming in, not gonna pass, not gonna pass, and then he passes it, and I kind of can like, it's weird. It's like I can feel the gloves on my hands, the smell of the gear, like. And then I come out, and I can feel that like that stopping feeling you get on your feet, lovely feeling off of a T push, and then I can feel sort of like where my weight is on my feet and like where my hands are and where my body is and everything. And I can sort of like imagine like going in for the save and like feeling in my glove and whatever. And I would do, I'm sure I'd look like a psychopath because I'd just be staring there and I'd go like, I kind of like flinch a little bit because I'm like, oh, gotta get that puck, whatever. Like, watching it in the glove, that kind of thing. Just thinking about it constantly. Every spare second, I was watching something hockey. I love, what is that YouTube channel called? Oh, the goalie doctor. I think he's the one. He has a bunch of different like levels of goalies, but when he brings some of the better ones in, he will just have like 2 hours of a goalie training session, and I just watch those reps over and over. And I also make sure to not watch or try not to watch like bad goalies reps because that I feel like sort of subconsciously gets in my head, like builds bad habits because I'm like imagining myself in this situation, right? So it's almost like reinforcing bad behavior. So I try and only watch good goalies. I love watching like NHL development camps, like goalie development camps. Sometimes they'll have on YouTube. There's a really good Dallas Stars one that just came out recently. Jamie Phillips is great. What else is there? Oh, increased performance is pretty good. He's pretty funny too, so I like that. But yeah, just watching things like that, just watching over and over and over again. And of course, I was playing like 3 times a day. So if game one I was sluggish, then I'd change my diet and whatever for game two. Then for game two, let's say my stance was, or for game one my stance was too high, so I changed that in game two as well. And I'd be okay, I got the stance part this time, but now I'm thinking too much. So for the third game, I'm just gonna like play instinctually and whatever. And it sort of just builds like that, and eventually you nip one problem in the butt and you move on to the next one and whatever. You gotta go, buddy. You're distracting me here. Anyway, so yeah, just really obsessing, and then also like I am a Christian, so I'm kind of like I kind of feel like I've seen some things. I'm kind of like this is what I'm meant to do with my life, so I'm very happy with it and whatever. I have like I can do all things, which is like part of a Bible verse. I think Michael Jordan had it too. It's like inscribed in my gear right now, and I have it on my neck set coming too. So that definitely helps. So just obsessing and feeling okay with the fact that I'm obsessing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I just love it. I can't help it. Like this time of year, especially where I haven't been playing a lot, I feel like a crack addict or something. Like I think about it constantly. Like I want to play so bad. My custom set, I think I'm gonna explode when it gets here because I've only ever had secondhand gear. So I'm just like I'm so ready, man. You have no idea.
yeah,
I've never broken in my own glove, my own pads, never.
yeah. You'll have a pretty high pitched opening unboxing video, I guess.
You have no idea. Like it's
Yeah,
bad.
no, that's all good, and that visualization part I think is a big thing too because it's kind of funny that you mentioned that you can feel and smell the gear and all of that stuff because that's something that when we work with the goalies and we try and get them into doing consistent visualization, that's the thing we talk about is trying to hit all the five senses when you're doing like a visualization session like pregame or whatever. And it's funny because there's a lot of people that kind of struggle with that, and then for you it's just like, oh, it's just happening because
Yeah, and I can't help it either.
yeah,
It's like it's kind of a problem. I remember being in class a lot of times, and there'd be different discussions going on or whatever. And sometimes like, someone will be talking to me, and then this is a bad one in class. Someone would actually be talking to me about something, going on some tangent or something, and I'd be thinking like it's like that Lego movie TikTok sound, like blah blah blah, story element, whatever. It's like I'm just not focused at all because I'm thinking about like maybe if I relace my glove, then I can do this, whatever. Like I'm just always thinking about it, and it's not like I don't think it's unhealthy. Maybe I don't know. I love it so much.
yeah,
Like they talk about the love for the game and whatever. And I think if you told me I had 7 years left to live, but you can spend it all on the ice, I think I would. I'm not kidding.
yeah, yeah. I remember when I used to play too. It'd be like when I was kind of half asleep, but yeah, you'd start dreaming about playing, and then all of a sudden your hand just shoots out and wakes you up and
Mhm. I can't.
scares
I
you a
actually
little
had to
bit.
stop myself when I was in Fredericton. Like,
Yeah,
I had this when I used to play a lot of video games. If I played a video game for like 12 hours straight, I would be dreaming about the video game. I do that. I used to do that all the time. But the same thing happened with hockey, where like I would start dreaming about hockey play, not dreaming, but like just laying in bed trying to fall asleep, and then I would think of like a hockey play, or just like imagining moving around, or like really trying to like focusing on the feeling of a good T push or the feeling of getting that RVH, like a good RVH cut or something like that. And it just popped into my mind. And I had to put a ban on myself thinking about hockey because if I did, I wouldn't fall asleep.
yeah,
I would just be so like dialed half asleep that I had to stop doing it because I wasn't going to be able to fall asleep.
yeah, for sure. So kind of as you continue on, trying to move up the levels and all of that stuff, what do you think is the current focus of what you're trying to improve in your game?
There's a lot. Right now, like, because it's more off season, I'm trying to do more of like the become a better athlete before you're a better hockey player kind of like view of things or whatever. So I'm taking the bodybuilder route, or the technique or whatever, where I'm doing like a mini cut right now. So I'm just trying to get rid of all the excess, whatever, and then I'm gonna start building up. I want to have a really good focus on quads because I feel like the reason I kind of start rising up a little bit and being a little bit too tall and not crunching down as much is because of like my quads are getting kind of. It's not like I don't hunch over with my back. It's that I'm not bending my knees enough, so I'm not like in a very set athletic stance a lot, like the more I get tired. So I want to get that figured out. That will also come with having less weight on me, obviously. And then I want to get good, well, adductors is like the techie term, but like the muscles that make you pull your knees together. So like if you're doing like your shuffles. You have to keep on pulling your leg back in with the T push. You have to pull your leg back in really quickly. That kind of motion mostly because I keep on injuring it. Like I've been to a one ice time this past Tuesday and one ice time the Tuesday before that, and before that I hadn't skated in about a month. I dropped down into butterfly. And I was so high because I don't know if I was being lazy or what, but I was so high in my stance that I dropped a lot further than usual. And then those adductor muscles weren't like totally activated. So when I dropped from a bigger height, so I had to catch myself harder, and then it also like made my knees shoot out sideways when I went down. and that hurts like a mother. Like it's like forcing you into a split almost. And so I feel like if those are more strong, then that won't happen as much. And a lot of mobility stuff too. Working a lot on focus, and a big thing is confidence as well. Really trying to build that up, not just in my hockey life, but I find if I'm not confident in like my normal life, then I won't be confident on the ice. So really sort of nailing that in, and eating a lot better because I'm not poor anymore because I work. So just all around making life better for my body, and then we'll focus on the technical stuff after, because I feel like before I kind of jumped the gun and got really techy and whatever, but really what I needed was like more mental training and more like physical training. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now.
Yeah, fair enough. That's we actually last week our episode is all about how average goalies can maximize their development, and I think we
I saw
probably
that actually.
yeah we probably spent about 70% of the episode on off ice stuff. So
Yeah,
you know,
that's where it happens though.
yeah, yeah, and that's one thing I think. There is a shift towards that, but I think that's really where goalies get the advantage, and I think athletes in general too is what they kind of do away from the rink, and really build that skill set that's not just the robotic like structure. Like, yes, you obviously need structure, but
You gotta be strong, and
yeah,
you gotta be able to like have lots of good mobility and healthy muscles so that you don't. This is the massage therapist in me coming out as well, where I'm like, you gotta do some dynamic warm ups and whatever, which I didn't do, and I almost pulled my groin the other day. So
yeah,
that one's on me. But I found the reason I was sort of more focused on like the skill wise stuff, and I kind of neglected the like become an athlete before a hockey player kind of thing, is because I was playing so much. I was playing 3 games a day. If I go do a big lift session or something and I got to play 3 games the next day, and 3 games the next day, and 3 games the next day, like I was just wiped to begin with. So I sort of thought like that's good enough, you know.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So you've gone the college route. You played one season of college, and going back next season as well. There has been a fairly, well, I don't know if significant shift, but there seems to be a shift towards going the college route for a lot more athletes as opposed to some of the more traditional routes. What do you think are kind of the benefits to that? But also maybe, what do you think might be some drawbacks to that as well?
I would say biggest benefit is that like so for girls, it's kind of your only option. Like after
Yeah,
high school, if you graduate, you're going if you want to keep on playing hockey, you have to go to school or go directly to the PWHL, whatever you prefer. So it's NCAA, ACHA, or the PWHL. Those are your options. So that's kind of why it's like beneficial for them because they also get a career and whatever. But like it's kind of their only option, so it's just what you do. As for the men's side, I can't really speak to that too well, but from what I have heard so much over like a lot of hearing about like the in goal podcast and things like that, and just hearing from different goalies, like there are like what is it like 500 NHL players right now, and there is the entire country of Canada trying to get to the NHL. And it just doesn't happen for most people. So I think going the college route, it's not going to hurt your chances to get to the NHL if you're good enough. But if you're not, then you also end up with a career and a degree, and you're not putting your life on hold as much as if you went to go play junior at 14. So I think that's kind of the real benefit with that.
yeah, for sure. And that's that was the big thing for me. Like after I was done junior and I went and played 2 years of college, I actually wasn't even gonna play hockey, and then I kind of got the bug, and decided that I had to go back for the last 2 years.
That's a
But
parasite inside me. I'm
yeah,
sorry, I'm gonna talk
yeah,
too much today.
exactly. But yeah, the one thing I noticed that was the big shift was just the student part, like the scheduling, like having to go 7 to 3 in class, and then you're maybe got a 2 hour window to do homework before you're on the ice, and then you're not home till 9:30 or
And
10
the weekends for
almost.
games
And
traveling
yeah,
is like brutal.
yeah, it wasn't too bad for us because the level I played was only around Alberta, the province, and we didn't really have to do too much. There's one team in Saskatchewan, but travel wasn't too bad. But yeah, the one thing I think too that can be a bit of a drawback for the college route is a lot less of that development time as opposed to the junior route. Just because, again, you're a student athlete, so students first, right? And so you don't get
Mhm.
nearly as much time, especially games. Like I went from playing, I don't know, we played 60 games in the regular season and then playoffs. And then I think in college we played 28 and then playoffs.
Mhm, yeah,
So,
I definitely felt like I was playing more like football or something
yeah,
than hockey this year for sure.
yeah,
And I would say a big drawback, especially if you are in the US, it's a whole lot of this to go to
yeah,
school. And that's definitely, and I will preach this from the rooftops, especially for women's hockey. If you are poor, good luck. Because you
yeah,
gotta go to school or you gotta play travel hockey. But it's the same thing for men's too, though. Like, unless you are insanely good and you somehow magically go from a team where you don't have to travel that much to a team where they pay for you to travel, unless you're that good, you're kind of screwed, you know? So if you miss that boat, there's not a whole lot of help for you because, like, my parents couldn't pay to go the whole way to St. John, which is like an hour drive away. Couldn't afford to go there 2 or 3 times a week, plus traveling on weekends, plus paying for hotels, plus paying for food. Like, you just can't do it. So
yeah.
if you're poor, good luck.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the unfortunate barriers of just the sport in general too, just given
Yes,
how
for
how
sure.
costly it is. Yeah. So for your career then, what what are you shooting for? Like what's kind of your short-term goals that you have, and then what do you have long-term as well that you're kind of looking to get to?
Short term is basically to be the best goalie I can, like develop myself really rapidly over the next year and just become that much better. Like really maximizing the amount of good I can do for myself as a goalie, and just as a person and whatever, and just being the best that I can over this year so that I am the best that I can be going into college the year after. And really hoping to get a lot of minutes and, see what happens from there, see what offers are on the table or whatever. I know that the Dakota College goalie from like this past season just signed with, I believe, an NCAA Div 3 team this year, like for the upcoming years. I think it's Wisconsin, something like that. Anyway, so like see what happens after that year, but my goal overall is just to play hockey, the highest level of hockey that I can for as long as I can. I'm 20 years old, I am single, and I can do whatever I want. So just gonna kind of ride that wave until it, maybe at some point it doesn't feel right for me. Maybe I won't feel that way in the future. But as for right now, injury, finance, or sucking is gonna take me out. One of those three. So either I physically cannot play anymore, I can't pay to go to college anymore because that's the way women's hockey works once you're above 18, or I just suck and no more teams want me. That's like the kind of things that could stop me at this moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know personally, I just kind of knew it was time. Like I maybe could have tried, to hang out in the semi-pro leagues and whatever, but it was just,
Playing the Fed.
yeah, yeah, the Fed, or maybe could have gone over to Europe, but that was a lot to do with, at 23, because after 4 years of junior and then you're playing a couple years college, then it's kind of like, well, time to start life. But
Yeah,
um,
if I had already played 4 years of junior at this point, or I had
yeah,
played, high level rep or something, like if I had played some form of high level for any extended period of time before I was like 24, like people, like this is how I feel about it,
yeah,
right? Because like people don't get married until they're like 27 and up now, and they certainly don't have kids till they're like 35. This is so bizarre, but anyways, that's how it is now. So if I can ride that, then I'm fine, especially over the next couple of years, because like this coming September, I'll be entering my, like, what would have been my fourth year of university or college or whatever. So most people my age, at least the ones who went to school, they're still having a whole other year of school right now, and I'm working full time and paying off my student loans I'm essentially purchasing a thing that three is $23,000 and it's a year worth of school in the U.S. But it's like I'm saving up for a thing that I want and I buy it because now I'm an adult with money. So
yeah,
that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't feel like I'm behind at 20 traveling the world and whatever. So that's kind
yeah.
of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, for sure. So you had touched on it already, but how is the emergence of the PWHL, I guess, you know, like how does that affect you as well as kind of just like, you know, female hockey in general, and what does that kind of offer as opportunities now, compared to, you know, the mishmash of leagues that have come before it.
It is huge, and there's probably countless ways in which it's huge. For me personally, I was always one of those people who's like, representation doesn't matter. Like, you can do whatever you want. You don't need someone to look up to, whatever. Like, people who say they need that to get somewhere is kind of lame or whatever. But now that I'm seeing it, it's not that I thought it wasn't possible before or something like that, but it's just like, seeing that it's possible to get somewhere where you could get paid, and like, but seeing the girls who are there, learning what they're like and kind of being like, oh well, you're just like me, so this is something that I could do, and just knowing that there's a place to go is so huge for so many women's hockey players. And it's not just like, oh, there's a place where I can go that if I'm really good at this I can get paid. It's not just that, and it's not just like, oh, if I'm really good at this I can go to Harvard and get my school paid off or whatever. It's not just that anymore. It's like, people know who these people are. People know, like, God, let me. I'm thinking of only goalies. Only goalies are coming to mind right now. Hillary Knight, all like the big names that
Yeah,
people actually know now, not just the people who watch the Olympics, or the people who watch like, what was it called, the PHF, like who,
yeah,
people don't even really know what that is. So just knowing that there's a place to go, and if you got there, then there is sort of like, it's not NHL level, obviously, but there's some level of like kind of notoriety that comes with it. It's not just like women's hockey is a joke anymore. It's really like it's really legitimate, and when people watch it, they're like, oh, this isn't just like 14-year-old AAA players. This is actually really good smart hockey. So that's really good, and having people to look up to is massive. I would say for the kids, it's like humongous because now they're like having this same thing that the guys have had for forever, where they're like, I want to play in the NHL someday. Like now they'd be like, I can play. I want to play in the PWHL someday, and someone can make that like their life goal from the time they're like 5. That's massive. I mean, we do a lot of outreach with the Sioux College Cougars, just going to like, one of the U11 Greyhounds teams will take our bus or something, and we'll go and we'll send them off, and they're right excited to see us and whatever. I actually had a girl come into my work the other day. I think it was actually yesterday or day before. Today's Wednesday, right?
yeah.
So it was yesterday. Yeah. So this girl comes in and she's kind of looking at me funny. I'm like, what are you doing here or whatever? And then she goes in for her appointment or whatever. And then her mom says she recognized you from this like autograph signing thing that you guys did, months ago or whatever. She's like, I got to see her again, like in real life. And
Yeah,
I'm like, my heart, like that really, just even like a little Sioux College ACHA D2 team just means so much to these girls. And so I think the PWHL definitely has that same effect. You imagine you get a stick from like Mashmeyer or something like that. Like it's gonna be huge.
yeah, yeah. And I find too that it's nice to see, you know, now that the PWHL is around, that the women's game has, you know, that professional infrastructure behind it too, right? Like the support staff that, you know, you see on the men's side at the professional levels too, and obviously, like you had said, the fan support. But you know, hearing stories that you know, the ladies before were practicing with players of the other teams because they were local to each other or whatever, and not having access to, you know, the massage therapists or whatever else.
They had to like pay for their own gas to get to the
Yeah,
rink. A lot of them had to pay for their own gear depending on which league they were in.
yeah,
I mean, they didn't get free gear a lot of the times. It was just like kind of like the bare minimum for being on a high level team. So
yeah,
it's like, it's huge, a huge, huge, huge step in the right direction, and I hope it continues this momentum. I think that they've done everything right, especially considering they put it together like kind of quickly.
yeah,
It's like, I'm really excited. They said that they announced a couple days ago, I think, that they're going to announce like the actual like team names and the new sweaters and everything in September. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit like giddy to see that. I'm really
yeah.
excited for it. I think they've, like I said, they've done everything right with marketing and like even PR and whatever. So I really hope that it continues to grow and do a lot for women's hockey.
Yeah, for sure. Before we wrap up here, I'm kind of curious. I'll throw you a bit of a curveball here, but I'm kind of curious as to like diving into some of the more technical stuff, just like what are some of the things, for the younger goalies and maybe even the older goalies that are getting started out or whatever? What are some of the things that you think are, you know, I guess kind of like a pillar to your game and that you think are important for the position to be able to focus on and work on and kind of like try and maximize your development and maybe you can speak to what you've done before or what you're doing now that kind of is working for you.
I would say, like, when I've done different goalie camps and things like that, one of the biggest things I see in younger goalies is that they don't bend at the hips enough. So I'm in a big enough room. I can demo. Does this work? Hold on. So, like, a lot of younger goalies have a habit of doing this. This is
Yeah,
terrible. This sucks. This is not an athletic
that's
stance.
the
You
chest
should
down,
lie
hey.
down and
Yeah.
chest up because it fixes like your coordination. It fixes your ability to go down quicker. It fixes like when a lot of goalies, younger goalies, when they go down, they drop from such a high place that once they go down, their like knees shoot apart and then they can't recover. They can't slide. They can't move, and it just opens a bunch of holes. That's a big one. I would say a big thing for me that I'm still working on is trying to play more inside out and not being overreactive to the puck. So like, if you see those videos where I'm like out of breath from sitting up, good god. Anyways, if you see those videos where they do like they put like dog leashes on like each corner of the
Yeah.
crossbar to give you like box control kind of thing, you take up like 98% of the net if you are in front of it and facing the puck at all times. So a lot of times I have an issue with like sort of overreacting to pucks as if the net's bigger than it is. So I find going like having your elbows tucked in and your arms kind of like parallel with that, and then just taking them out like that. So there's no spots under your arms or anything like that. And then not overreacting, not overreaching. They said, "What is that?" Like goalie coach says, "Nothing under you, nothing through you," that kind of thing. Like, you get out of here. Let me see if there's anything else here. Oh, big one is not pulling your legs back together on T pushes. That's a big one. Like not bringing that trailing leg behind. That causes a lot of issues. Or like a lot of them over rely on butterfly pushing and then also don't pull their like pushing leg back in afterwards. It really slows them down. It opens up a lot of holes. I think here. As for my game, oh yeah, so also when you kind of bend at the back and not at the hips, and you're kind of left with your arms are too low most of the time, and you're also like your hands aren't projected anymore. Like, you can't project your arms when you're like dangling them in front of you. So you kind of the more back you are, the more you can watch the puck in and not have to move as much with your head, which allows you to sort of track it in better. I think so. That's a big one, and they can't smother pucks very well because they're also too like I don't know. It's hard to describe, but they're like their legs are really flat, so they get a lot of bounces off of their pants padding or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, the shoulders and head back, that's a big you know big kind of cause of issues I see with the younger goalies too. Yeah. um so what do you have for kind of one tip or piece of advice for the goalies out there?
Biggest tip is this is more touching on recent things, but if you're not confident in the net, you're going to overthink that you're going to feel anxious because if you're not confident in yourself outside of the ice, then you're not going to be confident on the ice. The more you do that, you will overthink things that you know, and it will just make you regress, even though you know what you're supposed to do. But because you're overthinking it, you will kind of regress. And so, my biggest advice would just be to build your self confidence off of the ice, which is something you should do for your life in general, like in the first place. So it's helpful for all aspects of your life, but especially goaltending, because if you are not confident, you will not play well.
Yeah, we've all been there when you feel like you're 2 inches in the net instead of 5 foot whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, for sure. I know even when we had Pete Fry on, he kind of ran us through a quick little, confidence thing, and yeah, it's a big portion. Basically, anything that's related to the mental game is huge. Um, well, thanks for coming on with us today, Riley. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch or just kind of see what you are putting out there?
If you want to see what I'm doing, my YouTube channel is Scotch Hockey. If you want to see like more frequent updates and just different things that I'll repost and whatever, I am semi-active on Instagram under the same name, Scotch Hockey. And then I'm thinking about reviving my TikTok, my hockey TikTok, but we'll see. I'm a little introverted with that, so we'll see about that. But definitely YouTube. I try and post frequently, but it's usually like once every couple months.
And fill us in. What's the story behind the scotch?
Scotch. Okay, so this one is actually way less cool than it sounds. It definitely makes me sound like a beer leaguer, which I guess is kind of on point for what I did for the last couple of years. But it came from a place called Scotch Ridge, which is in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. I saw this like I was on the highway and I saw this sign that said like St. Stephen Scotch Ridge, and I'm like Scotch. Oh, like butterscotch. I was like 12 when I come up with it. So I'm like, oh, like butterscotch. Scotch kind of sounds cool. I'll just call myself Scotch. So that's kind of where it came from. I didn't even know it was an alcoholic drink at the time. And I used to have so many people comment on my YouTube videos like, "Oh, what's your favorite Scotch or whatever?" And I'm like, "What's that?"
Yeah, yeah, 12-year-old giving out scotch advice.
Not a big proprietor, I must admit.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. We'll put all of that in the show notes so you guys can check Riley out. And like I said, her stuff's got a lot of her personality in it. So it's if you're looking for something that has a little bit more umph to it, a little bit more jump, you can check out her stuff. So that'll all be at the DIYgoalie.com/pod018 pod018. And yeah, we'll make sure that people check you out, and then hopefully get you a few more subscribers.
Well,
So
sounds good. Thank you very much for having me on. I've had a blast, and sorry it took so long to get this rerun
yeah.
put through. It's just been a busy life ever since I started doing the adult things. So
Oh, I know. I
it
feel
is
you
what it is.
on that. Yeah, we've got goalie camps and a synthetic ice facility, plus the podcast and everything else going on right now. So it's I feel you on that one, but finally got her done. So, but all right, we'll let you go and we'll touch base later. Thanks again.
All right, have a good day.